It is a great honor and a privilege to introduce Joe Conway. Joe, Baruch Hashem, you've just turned 100 on the 1st of July. And you say at your age, every day is a celebration. So it is a celebration, us seeing you here today. We're in Shoresh in Israel. And Joe, you come from a very large family. If you could just mention a little bit about who your parents were and where you grew up.
Yes. My parents originated in Poland and came to London about 1900 or 1901, about that time. And he had been a yeshiva bocher in Poland, and in London they had no paranosa, so my mother walked from Highbury to the East End, because the East End was a Yiddish-speaking area, and they spoke Yiddish. And she started, they had nothing, she started a business. She borrowed 2 baby shoes and put them on a stall in the East End and gradually increased her shoe business from there, which eventually my father took over to some extent, because she had a large family of 6 girls and 5 boys.
And Joe, your father was...
he was a shliach tzibur.
He came to London, but he was from Brest-Litovsk, and he came at the age of 9.
He came from Brest, that's right.
And when he came to London, he had a communication with the famous rabbis, the Chofetz Chaim and Reb Ozer Grushinsky. He was also a chazan. Your father was a chazan as well.
Well, he was kind of a shliach tzibur, I would say.
And he knew Rav Kook.
Rav Kook was in London during the First World War, because he couldn't get back here. And they used to walk home from shul together. So he told me. Yep.
And what do you remember about growing up? You grew up on the... in which area of London did you grow up?
Well, the first 4 to 5 years I was in the East End. We lived above our shoe shop. Yeah.
And it was very Jewish at the time.
Oh, that particular area was 98% Jewish. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of immigrants who had come to England.
Yes, it was a Yiddish-speaking area, and there were shuls plenty. Yeah, plenty of shuls in Minyonim, and there was a Jewish school. There was a Jewish infant school just across the road from where I was. Jewish free school. It was the only Jewish school in London, in England at the time. Jewish free school.
And most of your friends were from the school, or were Jewish kids you grew up with?
Well, most of my friends were in my family. We had a large family. I didn't think we needed friends there. But when I was about 4 or 5, the shop stayed where it was, and we moved to Dalston, which is a couple of miles north. It's the emigration of Jews north. Mm-hmm. Dalston, Stamford Hill, Golders Green, Hendon, Israel. They're going north.
And Joe, do you remember any of the rabbis at the time? Any of the British rabbis?
At what time?
When you were growing up. Like Rabbi Schoenfeld, did you know Rabbi Schoenfeld?
My wife was his secretary.
Rabbi Solomon Schoenfeld.
Yeah. He started off the Jewish school movement. Did you know him?
I know his son very well.
Huh?
I have a very close connection with his son, with Jonathan.
Jonathan. They lived in Highgate.
And he did amazing to rescue from...
Oh yeah, concentrated from camps.
And also before, from Austria. He brought a lot of...
That's right.
And he brought a lot of kinder transport.
Let me tell you a story about Rabbi Schoenfeld. He lived in Highgate. And for some reason I was visiting there, and there's this book-lined room we were in, and I said, Rabbi Schoenfeld, how many books you have in this room? And he said 2,000 or 3,000, and his wife said, of which only 2 or 3 are worth keeping. I think she's anti-Semitic.
Now, she was the daughter of Rabbi Hertz.
She taught the Chief Rabbi Hertz, that's right.
And you remember Rabbi Hertz? Did you ever meet Rabbi Hertz?
Oh, I remember hearing him speak, but I remember hearing him speak. But another rabbi was Brody. Brody was in Australia, wasn't he?
I think he could have gone afterwards, but he was a chief rabbi in England as well.
Brody, Chief Rabbi Brody, that's right.
And there was a Rabbi Landau.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a relative.
He came to see me once. He had a problem with his eyes. Yeah. It's all history.
And can I ask, Joe, you changed your name from Cohen to Conway.
Yes.
And a lot of the reason was because you wanted to be admitted to the medical school.
There was a difficulty of getting into medical schools of Jewish boys, there's no doubt about it. In our form, sixth form at Central Foundation, Cupboard Street, several boys changed their names to get into medical school. Because I think there was a bit of a numerous clauses against too many Jewish students. I remember Litvin changed his name to Lawrence.
And which medical school did you go to?
I was at St Mary's. I was at St Mary's in Paddington, and the bacteriologist there was a chap called Fleming.
He won the Nobel Prize.
Huh?
He won the Alexander Fleming.
Yeah.
He won the Nobel Prize for his discovery of penicillin.
That's right.
And he actually was your bacteriology instructor.
Teacher. And I got a certificate.
Oh, from
Second in the bacteriology prize, signed by him. Signed by him. Now what happened to that? It'd be interesting to see who's got that. Doesn't really matter.
And what do you remember about the war? Do you have any recollections of the Blitz and the...
Yes.
Did it interrupt your studies during the war?
Well, we left London and moved out about 20-30 miles away. So it's a matter of getting in for lectures at 9 o'clock in the morning. I used to get a workman's train about 6:30 or something like that for a short time when the air raids got too bad. The bombing got too bad. But most of the time we were in London and we used to take shelter in the cellar. We had a coal cellar. You know what coal cellars are?
Yeah.
Yeah, coal cellars are. We used to sleep on a bunk or a chair or something, very often in the cellar. And who lived next door facing on the left?
Auntie Minnie,
You don't remember?
Auntie Dora, Auntie
One
Tilly.
we lived in one house and we had children either side in the other houses, and the bomb landed in their garden. about 20 yards away, and the house kind of did this, moved right, left. Yes, there were night raids. There were raids.
And Joe, you became a member of the Home Guard?
At the hospital.
It was like an armed citizens type of militia that supported the British Army during the war.
I don't think we were much good. We did some drills. We did some drills, but we were mainly fire watching, putting out fires on if they occurred. I had a very quiet time.
And because you were a medical student, so you were exempt from national service, but you were drafted to serve in the British Armed
It was
Forces.
postponed.
It was postponed.
It was postponed until you qualified.
And growing up, when you went to medical school, did you ever experience any anti-Jewish or anti-Semitism?
Personally, no, I don't think so. Not that I mixed much. I'm not a mixing person. I'm not a social person, and I didn't mix very much at all.
Well, and you graduated from medical school in 45.
Yes.
After the war, and then what made you decide to go into ophthalmology?
That was interesting. Well, my first appointment when I qualified was to a place called Harefield Hospital, and as a house surgeon, you take care of surgeons' patients. And I was working with about 3 surgeons, and the nicest one was the eye doctor. He was a gentleman. He was a very nice gentleman. The orthopaedic fellows are big chaps. They go pulling bones around, orthopaedics. Isn't that so?
Yes.
They're big fellows. They have to yank on dislocated shoulders and things like that. But the eye doctor was a nice, quiet gentleman. You worked in a medical office.
Right, yes.
Well, the funny thing about this man, Doyney, was very well known, and he used to scrub up and put his towel in his belt.
Joe, it's amazing. And Joe, at the age of 27, you served as an eye specialist for the British military personnel, and you were sent to Fayed in Egypt. You went to Egypt with the armed forces.
Yes, I had a couple of months in England. And then I was posted abroad, which I'd never been abroad in my life. So you went to an RF, but you went to an RF station for about a month or 2 and had lectures about medical services, and you drank a lot of beer. I didn't drink a lot of beer, but have these Meshigna Goyim who were drinking beer and all that. And then I was posted to Egypt.
And you went to also
I'd never been on an aeroplane.
Wow.
I'd never been on an aeroplane. I remember sitting there and seeing flames coming out of the engine, and I got a bit perturbed about this. So I got one of the pilots say, "What's going on?" I said, "It's absolutely normal. Absolutely normal. You do get flames coming out of it." And I landed in Egypt for a couple of years. But it was interesting. It was very interesting.
And in Egypt, did you go to Cairo and Alexandria?
Went to Cairo, went to the zoo, went to the museum on leave.
Did you ever go to the synagogue in Cairo?
Yes, I did.
They once had a very big Jewish community.
Oh, yes.
It's a magnificent synagogue in Cairo.
In the high street.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
I
synagogue.
remember being there on Shabbos. And I said to the bloke behind me, I said, why? I think I'm in the wrong shul. He said, don't worry, I've got my car, Mum, outside. I can take you wherever you want to go. Cairo, that's right. You see, I was the RAF eye specialist, and down the road was the Army hospital. They had an Army eye specialist. And we decided, well, he decided, he was a keen fellow, we should go and visit Egyptian eye hospitals. Went to Egyptian eye hospital, wasn't very impressed, and the Egyptian surgeons, I mean 2 or 3 of us, took us out that night to a hotel, roof garden, restaurant, overlooking the Nile, and gave us a meal. And I ordered a salad. You don't eat a salad in Egypt. Because the next couple of days I was dead ill and couldn't get back to my hospital quick enough.
Could it have been food poisoning?
Yeah, diarrhea, vomiting, food poisoning. I mean, they're dirty. It's salads. Salads you don't eat. Salads you eat something which is cooked. Well, if you're Orthodox Jewish and you're in a hotel with 2 or 3 Egyptian eye surgeons, they were eating proper stuff and I was eating a salad.
And Joe, you went from Egypt, you were sent then stationed in Khartoum and in Yemen? Do you remember going to Khartoum and Yemen?
Yeah, Khartoum's on the way to Aden.
Yeah.
The Air Force had a station down there, had a hospital down in Aden, and I went down there a few times.
And you spent time in Aden?
Yeah.
There was a Jewish community, quite a prominent Jewish community.
I was there when Operation Magic Carpet was taking place. Huh?
You witnessed it?
Yeah. Did I show you some pictures?
We'll see afterwards. Wow, but that's incredible. We haven't seen yet. But Joe, can I just ask you, when you were there, you utilized your protexia and you came to visit the State of Israel in 1948.
I came here 49.
Was it 49?
I came here twice. I came here twice. I came here with a colleague who was in the RAF, he was a doctor as well. He was in Cyprus. There was no way of going from Egypt to Israel. Huh? Was there?
No, because you already had the war.
There's a war going on.
There's
a war going on. But the RAF had a station in Cyprus. I used to go to Cyprus to see patients, and with my friend who was the doctor in the Air Force station in Cyprus, we came on leave to Israel. And this fellow was assisting Mossad somehow or other. Huh? So we go on this, we take leave, we go on this boat, and we land up in Tel Aviv. That's right. And a couple of Mossad chaps came out to the boat, took us off, and took us out for a meal. Yeah. And they separated. One talked to him about information, and one talked to me, and I went up to, in Tel Aviv, there's a cafe, it's called Cafe Noga. You may don't know. It used to be, and the Israelis had a place there, upstairs. I went up there, and they wanted to know about the Air Force station, how many planes there were, what kind of planes there were, and I wanted to know what information I could give them about the British. I couldn't give them much information because I didn't know. I was examining patients. I had nothing to do with planes, airplanes at all. Anyhow, that's the history, mate.
That's amazing. And when you came to Israel, they took you to Kibbutz Lavi, which was in the very early stages of Kibbutz Lavi.
I went to Lavi.
And you were in
I went to Lovely I went on leave with my friend Eddie Field, whose grandfather was Chief Rabbi of Finland. But his daughter, this Chief Rabbi's daughter, wanted nothing to do with religion, so he's brought up completely irreligious. So he saw me in Lovely, and I'm davening in the morning with Talis and Tefillin. And he said, "What are you doing?" "Want to know what I'm doing?" It's funny.
And you went to, on a Shabbat, you were in Kibbutz Ein Choresh, in north of Netanya, and that's when you were davening, and they said, "We don't do this. It's a Shomer Hatzayir kibbutz."
And where'd you get this from?
It's all in this amazing...
So when in a chorish, I said, "What time is it?" And he said, "We don't do that here."
Wow.
Have you ever, is it still going in a chorish? It's still going?
Don't know.
So you remember Operation Magic Carpet?
Oh, yeah.
That must have been, you were witnessing history. That's when they took the Jews out, they airlifted the Jews out of
Did I show you
Yemen.
some pictures? Did I show you pictures?
Yeah. But we'll see afterwards. We'll have a look. Maybe what we can do now, could you show the picture of your parents? This is a picture of your parents.
Yeah. Do you remember them?
Very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Joe, your parents must have been very, very proud of you when you were accepted into medical school. Were you the first from your family to get such a high education?
My brother, my older brother Sonny, took law, and he went to King's College Hospital. He went to King's, and my younger brother Izzy, you remember Izzy?
Yes.
He became a dental surgeon. You see, it's the early ones, the pioneers, that have the difficulty. The later ones,
It was easier.
it's easier. Yeah. That's true. I occasionally used to go and help him in the shoe shop.
And how did your parents afford for the three brothers to go to university? It must have been a little financially very difficult.
I don't know. I never asked them.
Well, it was incredible what you did.
I don't think the fees were terribly expensive, actually. But, yes, well, Izzy became a dental surgeon, and Sonny became a solicitor. Hmm.
And can you just tell us a little bit about what you remember from the Operation Magic Carpet? Because they airlifted nearly 50,000 Yemenite Jews. And you were there in Yemen at the time when it was happening?
I'll tell you what happened. I went down to Aden, and I'm in the Air Force station examining patients, right? And I'm told a man wants to come and see me. This man comes in, and he's Israeli. Huh? He doesn't speak English. I don't speak Hebrew, so it's Yiddish. In a kind of way. I'll show you a picture of him.
So Joe, this is a picture of you in Aden, in the RAF hospital.
Read the back.
That was in Aden at the RAF hospital. And where's the picture of your assistant?
There he is.
If we
My
can,
dispensing optician.
if we can, Joe, if we can show the pictures.
This is my dispensing optician. There's Aiden. Little camera. Yeah. What? What?
And here you have your photo album.
It's what? 48. Just fall into pieces a bit.
Okay.
Where's that?
That's in Petra.
Yeah, it's Petra.
Yeah.
You been there? Yeah. We went from.
And these are the pictures from the magic carpet. It's incredible. So they were taken from, literally from the desert to Israel. It's amazing. And Joe, what do you remember about your time still when you were in Aden? Did you spend a long time in Aden?
No, I wasn't I was made 2 or 3 visits to Aden, and
This is the camp in
I saw the
1949.
camps, Hashid camp. They were living out in the open, really. Had four branches and a covering. They're living out in the desert, terrible conditions.
And if you look over here, this is exactly how the Jews of Yemen, before they were airlifted to the new state of Israel, these are the original photographs.
Yeah.
And what you have here is the original
I didn't
photographs.
go camera.
And this is you in Aden. It's amazing. This was the RAF
It's all
hospital.
falling to pieces. It's all falling to pieces now, isn't it?
Yeah.
This came from.
Number 7 RAF hospital.
You
Okay.
finish with us.
And this is in Aden. This is how it looked.
This good came over here, didn't it?
Yeah.
And this is amazing. And you know, these are the photos that you took
Are you all
in.
right?
Yeah. I'm
What are you doing, darling?
putting it back for you.
This is in Cairo, when you were in Cairo. Did you go to the Rambam Shul in Cairo, in Old Cairo, where they have the Geniza and
I don't think it's a very old shore. I don't think
these
it's
were your pictures in Aden and in Egypt. And
Shall
just
we
in
put this one
Cairo.
back, darling?
Yes. I'll put it back.
Well, no, we're going to show this one. We're going to still show.
Okay.
Yeah, just and Joe, can I? Wow, you've got such amazing. These are incredible. And these pictures you took yourself.
Yeah.
These were you had a camera and you took these photos yourself.
Why is it so cold?
Do you want me to turn the air conditioning off?
Why is it so
Yes,
cold?
because
It must be on, mustn't
And
it?
this is in Khartoum.
Is it on?
look there, it's off now.
It's amazing. You're in 1949 in Khartoum. Joseph, you really travelled quite extensively. This was the.
Yeah, this is a camp. It's out in the desert, there's nothing there. There's nothing there at all. This one's called Chap Ginsberg. He was a padre, Jewish padre,
A chaplain.
a chaplain. And he married an Egyptian Jewish girl, his secretary. That's right. And
And Joe, who's in this picture? We have a picture here.
oh, this is a long time ago. This is a long time ago.
This is an original RAF officers' mess, Fayed. Boxing Day 1949.
Give it easy.
He even
Easy,
kept
easy.
the menu.
In the middle.
Oh, my mum.
This is a special menu for Boxing Day.
And it's amazing that you kept
You don't
it.
have a menu for Boxing Day? Look, sherry, potatoes,
This is amazing shit.
I'll take a picture of this one.
And this is the Jews of Yemen. These are very, very valuable. And this is after Yom Kippur in 1949.
These are service personnel mostly, I think, aren't they?
Fayyad, you have clouds over Sudan
They should
and
make it.
Fayyad.
But that was a fascinating place. Hashi camp. I've lost some pictures.
This is my grandmother with some of her children.
Where did it come from?
You just gave it to me. You just see who's in it? On the back? I didn't realise you wrote on the back.
It's all history.
Here's some more pictures of the Jews of Yemen. It's incredible. And here's when you came to Jerusalem. And Joe, can I just ask you, when you were growing up in England, can I just ask, do you remember, what do you recall about the Shoah, growing up in England?
The Holocaust.
The Holocaust. Did you know what was was it general
Oh
knowledge?
yeah,
what was
we
happening?
knew there were problems. I mean, refugees were coming out of Germany, weren't they?
Yeah.
Refugees were coming out of Germany, and there were refugees being interned in England. English interned them.
And you took in your
And-
parents took in refugees.
Sorry?
Did your parents take in any of the refugees?
Yes, we had refugee girls to help in the house.
So your parents vouched for her, and that's
She was kind of assistant. She was kind of working in the house, housework. She was doing housework. She was living in with the family and doing housework.
And where did she come from?
She's from Germany.
And do you remember her name? It's a long time ago. But your parents, by having her work in the house, it actually saved her life.
Oh no, she was here. She was in England. The fact that she got out of Germany saved her life.
Yeah. But maybe your parents vouched for her, and that's how she could come out of England. It's possible.
I don't know. Rabbi Schonfeld, you read up the history of Rabbi Schonfeld. He was very involved in the refugee problems, wasn't he?
He was amazing. He would bring so many rabbis and young students, and he'd bring them, and he even had them staying in his mother's home, and he would put them up in all different places just to save Jews. They say that he saved over 3,000 Jews.
Yeah, I'm sure. And children.
And children.
He started off Jewish schools in London. And my wife was his secretary.
Wow. For a long time?
Yeah. I used to phone her at his office, and one day she was not happy with me at all. And she wouldn't answer the phone. So apparently I phoned once or twice, and he said, speak to him, he seems a nice fella.
So Joe, you finished your national service in 1950, and then you married Joy Pressman in 1953. And your father-in-law, and we're just going to show a picture of your father-in-law. Here's a picture. Your wife's parents, your wife's father, was a supporter of the Irgun. What do you remember of your father-in-law?
Fantastic. He's a fantastic man. Fantastic man. He had little or no schooling. The family were in the fur business. They're furriers. And then he, without any knowledge, he went into the chemical business. And he made Davidoff. Remember Davidoff? It was a little
yes.
jar with a cloth cover with a fluid in it, and you took stains out of your clothing. And they may fly, anti-fly. He had no chemical education, but he employed chemists.
And here's a picture of your wife's grandparents. Where did they come from, your wife's family?
Somewhere in Poland. Asking me, somewhere in Poland.
You can see from a very religious family. Yeah.
They're fishermen. They're a very religious family, yeah. You're right.
And Joe,
That's very interesting. Fishman had 2 sons. There was Asher, who was a lawyer. Did you know the Fishmans at all?
No.
Asher was a lawyer, and there was the younger one who was at Oxford. And he left Oxford during his studies and came on Aliyah. Huh?
That's incredible.
And I don't think his parents ever spoke to him again. They never came to visit him. And he was busy with water conservation here, with the Israeli waterworks, you know what.
And Joe, behind you, you have something H.I. Pressman from 1931. Let me,
That's when Auntie Joy was born.
Oh, that's a poem that he wrote.
About her.
It's a poem that he wrote to his daughter.
It's a beautiful poem, actually.
And that's the original.
He never had schooling.
Yeah.
He never had much schooling anyhow.
And how did you meet your wife?
Ethel. Remember Ethel?
Auntie Ethel, my auntie.
Auntie Ethel.
Yeah.
We lived in St Kilda's.
Yeah.
Ethel lived further up the road, and Joy lived round the corner of St Andrews. Remember?
Yeah.
St Andrews.
Yes.
She lived 300 yards away. Not very far. Not very far. Stamford Hill. You been to Stamford Hill? Very Jewish part of the world.
So Joe, you worked as an ophthalmologist till your retirement, till for the National Health, and then you went into private practice.
I was in private practice I was in that part of the time in the health service, yes, because I was a part-time specialist in hospitals.
And you must have seen a lot of advances in ophthalmology through the years. The
advances. Harold Ridley was a small man, must be my side, Harold Ridley, and he put the first implant into the eye. He was a brave man. Harold Ridley.
And you also were a doctor to some
And you see him sitting there. He revolutionised cataract surgery.
And you knew him?
Huh?
You knew him?
Yeah, I worked with him.
You worked with him.
I was his house surgeon.
And Joe, can I ask, who were some of your patients? Did you have some very interesting rabbis and community leaders?
That's funny. There was some. That's right. There was a rabbi. The rabbi and his entourage were in Switzerland, up in the hills, and some of our supporters. The rabbi had eye trouble. And I went with Joy to Switzerland to see him. We had a few days holiday as well. Oh, what was it? I can't remember his name. I probably got pictures of him somewhere. It's very funny. This rabbi was up in the mountains with a minion.
In Switzerland.
And his wives. And the men were the wives. And we went in there when we arrived, and they were opening mincha. And they were quite surprised that Joy was also done mincha. Nothing. Say, she doesn't. She doesn't. She was supposed to be my secretary.
So, Joe, you and Joy, you had 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls.
Yeah.
And you had a very successful career as an ophthalmologist.
Huh?
You're happy that you chose ophthalmology. You had a very successful career.
Well, it's a very clean specialty. It's a good specialty. They don't have to undress, huh? And you're easy to examine, and you examine the back of the eye. It's like looking into a new world, huh? I mean, you can see things in the eye which are happening elsewhere in the body. For example, raised intracranial pressure. You can see it when you look in the eye. You see the optic nerve is swollen. I mean, you get a picture. You see, physicians are tapping chests and listening, and I could never make head or tail what was going on. Oh, the heart sounds and big bop, big bop, big bop. Nothing doing, but you get an instrument and you look in and you can see what's going on. It's quite a different world.
And Joe, I just want to mention, about 7 years ago, in 2014, you and your wife decided to make Aliyah to come to Israel.
Yeah, about 7 years. I don't know, 7 years. Yeah.
Were you always very Zionistic?
I wouldn't say I was very Zionistic. I just want a peaceful life. Yeah, I wasn't Zionistic. I was very involved. I was very involved in bringing up a study. I had a large house and a large garden. Huh? I had a caravan to go on holiday. I had a big car, which I bought second hand, and a big caravan, and we used to go and travel for a holiday, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
And were you involved in any Jewish causes through the years with...
My wife did all the involvement necessary. She was very involved. My wife was in charge of kosher food in chaplains for Jewish hospital, for Jews in hospital and Jews in prison. And there's Rabbi Jackson. You know Rabbi Jackson?
I do know, yeah.
Well,
Rabbi Jackson was in Netanya.
Yeah.
He was actually a chaplain in the prisons.
That's right, and you ask him and he'll tell you about a visit to a prison with Joy, with my wife, and there was an alarm. The prisoner was escaping or something, and these 2 visitors, that's like Joy went with him because Joy was very involved. She was running, I don't know what association was, looking after prisoners and kosher food in hospitals and things like that. And they were pushed into a cell because there was this riot going on. So she spent locked in with a rabbi.
That's incredible.
You ask him, he'll tell you about it. You know Rabbi Jackson? That's all history.
And Joe, you knew Jonathan Sachs? The late Rabbi Jonathan Sachs?
Yeah. I had a lovely picture of him here. Oh, wow. I had a lovely picture. I want to know what happened to it.
There's all these
Hey!
Uncle Joe made.
Hey!
Oh, That's wonderful.
I'm very annoyed at this. I tell you, Rabbi Sachs.
What do you remember with Rabbi Sachs? Did you have a
Rabbi Sachs in Middleway, where I lived in London. It was a celebration of some. It was, I don't know how many years marriage. It was a celebration, silver wedding, golden wedding, or something. And he said across the room, "To what do you attribute?" I told you this. To what do you attribute your years of 30, 40, I don't know how many years of a happy married life? So I said it was. That's right. It was Joy's apple pie.
That's a wonderful
Sometime
answer.
later, I went to his shul in London. Went into his shul in London, down Finchley Road. Where was his shul in London? You don't remember?
I think it was in.
Doesn't really matter. I went to his shul in London, and afterwards, he said to me, "How's the apple pie?"
You remembered?
How's the apple pie? He was a great. Well, he knew Joy so well.
And do you remember also Rabbi Jacobowitz?
I remember Jacobowitz, of course I do. His brother was His brother was Joe, and he used to sit near me in shul, and I knew him very well. Joe, he changed his name to Jacobs, actually. Joe Jacobs. He married a Swiss lady.
And Joe, there was a South African chief rabbi, Rabbi Harris, Cyril Harris. I don't know if you knew Rabbi Harris.
Yes, I guess so.
He was very popular in South Africa, extremely
South
popular.
Africa.
He went to South Africa and he became the chief rabbi.
Yeah.
And he was very, very popular.
Did he come from Scotland or somewhere?
He did. Oh, Joe, you're amazing. He did. Yes, he did. And Rabbi Mervis, the present chief rabbi, he's also South African.
Mervis is in Finchley, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had a very good life in England. Looking back, you were very happy with your life in England.
I was too busy to be happy.
Working and with patients,
Working, patience, and family.
growing, raising a family.
Yeah. Can't turn the clock back. That's the pity. You can't turn the clock back.
And are you happy that you came to Protea Hills in Shoresh?
Well, I think as things turned out, well, I've got 2 daughters here.
It's a bracha, it's a real bracha that they're here.
Huh?
It's a very big blessing.
And how? And how? They keep the freezer full. Yeah.
So, Joe, I have to
They're
ask.
marvellous girls that take after their mother.
And their
And
father.
the mother took after the grandmother.
And Joe, I have
Do you know? Do you remember Joy's
Yes,
grandmother?
I do. I do.
Joe, I have to ask you, what is the secret of your longevity? Reaching 100, the Queen sent you a letter on your 100th birthday.
I think so.
Yes, she
Yeah.
did.
What would you attribute the secret?
It's not planned. It's all muzzle. It's not planned. It's all muzzle. You don't know from one day to the next
That's true.
what's going to happen to you. Huh? Do you? Do you remember Elliot?
Yes, this was my cousin's husband.
Elliot's fit and well, no problem. Comes back after Mars Saturday night, makes $50 and drops down dead. With the
warning
wife and the
signs?
children standing next to him. How old was it, Elliot? 50?
In his 50s, I think.
And he was a good soul.
Half your
He
age.
was a good soul. He used to work for Benny Pressman and they used to, and through him, Benny used to get tzedakah, very charitable. Do you know Benny Pressman?
No, I don't.
My father's brother. My father's brother, Benny Pressman. He used to give a lot of tzedakah. And in Tzfat, there was a rabbi in Tzfat, had a picture of him. He went down to Hatton Garden, that's what his place was, Hatton Garden. And Elliot used to work there. And Elliot sent a message upstairs that there's this rabbi from Tzfat, and he's giving some money. And so he gave him a package, and this fellow told me afterwards, he was standing outside the building in Hatton Garden, he'd never seen so much money. And Benny wasn't, because Benny was Jewish and charitable. You didn't know him?
No, I didn't know him.
And Joe, you're a serious reader of Jewish history? You read?
Not really.
But you read many historical books or
I
novels?
read the British Medical Journal. Why, I don't know. I read a book about the origins of Nazi Germany. Did you read Shira? There's a book over there. It's a little book on the armchair.
It's hard to comprehend.
The rise of the Nazis.
And what is your feeling about the anti-Semitism now in England, which has become...
Sorry?
There's a lot of anti-Jewish anti-Semitism in England.
So what's new?
I know, but what do you...
What's new? You think it's new? They were sent out of England in 1290, weren't they?
The church is actually going to apologise. The
Must have
church, next week, they're going to make an official apology.
For what?
For expelling the Jews. It's 800 years later.
And the Spanish is going to do it as well?
The King of Spain did apologise, but the Church of England are going to bring out a document apologising for the expulsion of
And the Germans are going to apologise?
They have, in a way.
And why did the Polish Jews run away from Poland? Because it was having a great time.
You're right, sure. But in your medical career, did you experience any anti-Semitism from patients or from...
Well, because of the difficulties of getting into medical school, there were a group of us who changed our names.
Yeah. But once you were in medical
It didn't really
school,
matter in the family, because my father used to call me Joseph Scholl. It really mattered what my surname was. Sorry, what were we saying?
I just want to ask you, Joe, with 100 years of experience, let me just ask, what advice do you give to your Kanehori? You've got many grandchildren, and what advice do you give to the future generations? What advice do you give? What do you impart on the next generations?
I can only advise about eye problems years ago. Advice to good children: enjoy every day. Every day is a gift. You should enjoy every day and use it to some purpose.
So you can't take it for granted. Yeah, we just can't take it for granted. Every day is a gift. It's a lovely message.
Every day is a gift. Baruch Hashem Yom Yom. That's the answer. That's what Shakespeare said, didn't he?
So Joe, I just want to thank you very, very much. So we are very pleased that we have Naomi Halprin and Naomi, your mother and Joe's.
Yeah, brother and sister.
They were brother and sister.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you for arranging this incredible meeting today.
Your mother was Rini, wasn't she?
Rini, yeah.
Rini, that's right. It was Rini and Ollie.
Yeah.
I think Ollie had a hard time.
He had a very
Didn't
hard
he?
time. Yeah.
Didn't he?
Yeah, he had a hard life.
So Joe, I just want to personally thank you.
I thank you very much for coming.
I think it's
I wish you
incredible.
well.
And
I
Joe,
wish-
I think it's Mina Shemaim. It's incredible that in the Jerusalem Post today, the Friday
Is
edition,
it today?
today we have a full-page article.
They're potty.
No regular Joe, and you really are no regular Joe. You are incredible, Joe. You are amazing, and you know what I mentioned this to somebody who's 97, and I said I'd may Vesrim, and he said no, I want more. So what we're saying now is
said what?
he wants more than may Vesrim till 120. He said I'd may Veshmonim, so to 180. So we just want you to be in good health and to have muzzle and brocha and to have nachas from all your beautiful family.
It's pushing it a bit.
But you are incredible, and you remember, and you're just amazing, Joe. You are, Nami, you really were right, Joe. You are amazing, and I'm so grateful for coming here. It's not every day you
I
get to
hope
meet
you
somebody
enjoyed
who's
it. I hope you enjoyed it.
incredibly. So Joe, thank you very much.
So you were in dental practice, were you? Where?
In South Africa and here in Israel and South Africa.
Israel.
But Joe, thank you very, very much. It's been such an honor and a privilege to be with you. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for coming. Howard, you know Howard?
Sure. So, Joe, you knew Mr. Howard, the dentist. He became a dentist.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about his father, my age.
Yeah.
Oh, his father must have passed away,
He
like,
did pass away.
yeah, years ago.
And Rabbi Cook actually married his parents. Rav Cook married his parents, and then he always wanted to come to Israel, and then he was working in Gush Etzion. And he loved dentistry, and he was also in the RAF. And he sold you his coat?
His great coat. It was a beautiful, it was a Crombie. You know Crombie?
Yes.
Oh, it's a thick,
Quality,
woody,
quality.
soft, it's beautiful coat. What happened? What happened to it? I don't know what happened to it. I don't know. I went completely meshuggah when I came out of the Air Force. I threw my uniform
You were so happy to
into
be
the
out.
dustbin. And the children were so annoyed with me forever after. I don't know, I was sugar, madness. Crazy. Yeah. And now it's all past history.
Anyway, Joe, thank you so much, really.
It's all past history.
Les?